Shabbos, stay tuned. There's a Gavaldiga podcast. Rabbi Steve Geller does a Gavaldiga Zach, and that'll be coming out this week. Torah Giants on Chumash. Shalom Uvrach, and welcome to the weekly piece on the Parsha from Torah Giants on Chumash, written by Rabbi Rabbi Goodman, the Rabbi Emeritus of Yom Rockaway. Sit back and enjoy.
Welcome to Torah Giants on Chumash. I'm Steve Geller. The concept of financial restitution for someone who caused bodily injuries to man or animal is most famously symbolized by the well-known pasuk, ayin tachas ayin, an eye for an eye. The oral tradition is clear that this was never meant literally, and Rabbi Goodman covered it on that pasuk in Mishpatim. In fact, we made a video on that piece in 5783, and we'll revisit the big ending of that video in a moment. Our Parsha revisits this issue from a similar but different angle. If a man maims his neighbor, kasher asa kain yeaselo, just as he did, so shall be done to him. As he always does, Rabbi Goodman is going to bring some more powerful proofs as to how Chazal knew that monetary compensation is the remedy for personal injury. First, it was important that Rabbi Goodman shares a point made by his Rebbe, Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik. The obvious question we all have is, why can't the Torah just come out and say that the damager pays money for the damage done to another? Rav Soloveitchik makes the point that the Torah could not clearly state that financial payments are called for, since the detractors of the Jews would have had a field day pointing out that these nasty Jews with great wealth can maim people at will and simply write a check. Therefore, the oral Torah tells us this secret. However, of course, our pasuk seems to have a literal ring to it that truly is disturbing. Before we get into Rabbi Goodman has for us on our pasuk, let's revisit one of the most beautiful explanations of how the famous pasuk ayin tachas ayin means money. Attributed to both the Vilna Gaon and the great Kabbalistic Rav Shimshon Astrapali, here's that magical piece from our video on Mishpatim.
Finally, there's the famous point made by the Vilna Gaon, and if you haven't yet heard it, it's going to blow your mind. Our pasuk said ayin tachas ayin, but tachas has another meaning, below. So it can be read ayin, an eye, below an eye. The Vilna Gaon asks, what's below ayin? Ayin yud nun. If we make columns of the Hebrew alphabet and look at each consonant under the one above it, the next letter under ayin is pei. The next letter under yud is chaf. The next letter under nun is samech. Pei, chaf, samech are the letters of kesef, which equals money. Of all the limbs mentioned in the pasukim, eye, tooth, hand, foot, burn, wound, and bruise, the first limb the Torah mentioned was ayin, which held the key to this monetary payment.
That gra is breathtaking, but we're only getting started finding even more compelling evidence of the financial resolution of these cases of damages. Rav Baruch Epstein offers a wonderful linguistic resolution. A man who maims his neighbor, kasher asa kain yeaselo, just as he did, so shall be done to him. The fact is that even the expression in our pasuk is used in Tanakh in the obviously non-literal sense. One of these examples comes from Shoftim. Shimshon avenges the kidnapping of his wife by the Plishtim by burning their fields and says, Kasher asu li kain asisa lahem. As they did to me, so I did to them. Here too, he said he's doing the same thing that was done by them, but he did something completely different. A second example by Rav Baruch Epstein comes from Sefer Zechariah. Zechariah quotes the people as admitting that as we did, so Hashem did to us. But surely they did not do to God what he did to them. It simply means that for their evil ways, God treated them with the retribution they deserved. The Steipler Gaon, Rav Yisrael Kanievsky, notes that the Hebrew phrase we find in our pasuk is likewise very similar to something we find in a Mishnah in Sanhedrin. Once again, kasher asa kain yeaselo, just as he did, so shall be done to him. This sounds like the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. In cases of monetary law, a person who testifies falsely causing money to be given to the wrong party, nosein mammon umiskaper. He pays money and he's atoned. Kasher asa kain yeaselo, just as he did, so shall be done to him, and nosein mammon umiskaper, give money and it is atoned. Connecting these two concepts would surely prove Chazal's ruling that money is restitution for damages, and the Steipler brilliantly points out both of these phrases are eternally linked by having virtually the same gematria. Another in our long list of strong indications that in fact money is used as repayment in these cases. But the next example that Rabbi Goodman brings us is even closer to home. Remember our original pasuk and how we connected with the Stipler's gematria to the Mishnah that money is restitution for damages. Well, the pasuk just before ours has another curious phrase. One who kills an animal shall make restitution, nefesh tachas nefesh, a life for a life. Obviously, we don't mean that if a man kills another man's animal, that we kill one of his animals. And this brings us all the way full circle. This is actually identical to our other foundational pasuk on this subject. Remember in Shmos, ayin tachas ayin, shein tachas shein, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth? Well, the pasuk right before that one will now sound familiar. But if any harm ensues, v'nosata nefesh tachas nefesh, then you shall give a life for a life, thus confirming that these identical phrases are all speaking about the oral tradition repeatedly hinted at, that damages are paid with money. And finally, from the fascinating world of Hasidic interpretation, the following idea was suggested by the Rebbe HaRav Mordechai of Lechovitz regarding our pasuk 18. Umake nefesh behema yishalmena. One who kills an animal shall make restitution for it. Nefesh tachas nefesh, a life for a life. Rav Mordechai interprets this as follows. Umake, and one who kills nefesh behema, his own nefesh behema, our own animal instinct, yishalmena. He will come to his true shlemus, nefesh tachas nefesh, giving himself a better life for the life he eradicated. Just incredible. Once again, Rabbi Goodman takes us on a journey of discovery, bringing us through all of the relevant points to teach us a lesson we'll never forget. That is, as long as you don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and most importantly, hit the share button to paste this video into emails, Facebook, texts, WhatsApp groups, or your social media of choice. They too will never forget it, or you, for bringing the Torah of life to as many people as we can. We go to yeshiva to learn, that's Torah. We seek closeness to Gedolim, that's Torah. We daven for inspiration and v'sein chalkenu b'sorasecha, that's Torah. We come up with chidushim in our own learning, that's Torah. Maybe. Share your chidushim. Send your original Torah pieces to torahmaybe@gmail.com or email that address for more information. Also visit www.youtube.com/@torahmaybe.